TripleWhale says your Google Ads is doing a 4.4 ROAS. Google Ads dashboard says you're doing 6.4 ROAS. Same campaigns, same time period, but 45% difference. So you got to question which one is lying to you. Honestly, this goes for all third-party attribution tools. TripleWhale, ROAS, Northbeam, Omni, all of them. I'm just using TripleWhale because most people know TripleWhale. And the answer to that is neither one is, okay? They're just measuring different things. Because what a lot of operators in e-com don't realize is this gap can be completely normal. Every e-commerce brand we work with sees this. And the size of the gap depends on complexity of your funnel and how much you're spending across the channels. At this current time, January, Feb, we're managing around $15 to $17 million a month in Google ad spend for e-commerce brands such as Icon Amsterdam, AgeMate, Tabs, Snow, Muscle Nation, Crafted, and many more well-known e-commerce brands. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly why your Google Ads dashboard can be different from TripleWhale, Northbeam, and a bunch of tools out there, and then which tool to trust for each type of decision you need to make. One thing before we dive in, if you're running server-side tracking on one platform and browser-side tracking on another, your numbers will be significantly different before you even get to the attribution breakdown. So just make sure you're comparing apples to apples first. All right, so let's start with the single biggest reason that your numbers don't match. So once you understand this, everything else will click. Let's break it down with this simple visual. When someone clicks your Google ad and buys, Google then says, this customer used Google. I get 100% credit for that sale. That's what Google says. But here's what could actually happen. When someone is buying online, that same customer also clicked on a Meta ad 3 weeks ago. Maybe they saw a TikTok video, then they got 2 or 3 emails. Then they clicked your Google ad. Google takes the full credit. And this can happen to any platform. They click Google 4 times, 1 email, they buy a Meta goes 100% that was from me. It doesn't work like that. A third-party tool like TripleWhale sees much more of the customer journey. They see more than just what the single platform sees. TripleWhale saw all 5 touch points. So it can obviously split that credit 5 ways or whatever attribution model you choose, because that depends as well. Now, let's just quickly go through the math here. So the sale is $100 with full credit attribution. Google reports $100 in revenue. That same $100 with credit split across 5 channels, Google reports $20 in revenue. Same sales, same customer. Google's reported ROAS has just dropped by fucking 80%. And that single difference, full credit versus split credit, explains most of the gaps that you're seeing between in-platform versus third party. Quick note as well, some attribution models like triple attribution intentionally don't duplicate. They show each channel's contribution separately, which means your numbers add up to more than your actual revenue. That's by design. More on that in a minute. I'll dive into that. Now, there are other reasons that stack on top of this, and I want to run you through them. Number one, attribution windows are different. Google remembers clicks for 30 to 90 days, depending on your settings. Meta, after iOS 14.5, uses a 7-day click window plus 1-day view window. TripleWhale uses 28 days with their next-gen pixel. Longer memory, this equals more conversions that are credited to the specific platform. Google's longer window shows higher ROAS because it can reliably connect clicks to people for longer periods of time. Meta and other platforms with much shorter windows, they lose that connection sooner, so they credit fewer conversions to paid ads. Second one, Google owns the bottom of your funnel. Most buying journeys end with brand insert, and here's a quick example. So day 1, someone sees your Facebook ad, visits your site, then just fucks off. Day 2, they see your YouTube ad, visit again, once again, they leave. Week 3, they Google your brand name, bang, Google then gets the last click. Under last click models, Google gets 100% credit. But Meta and YouTube did the work for creating that brand awareness in the first place. So multi-touch models distribute credit upstream. So those type of funnel channels actually get credit. A lot of brands, they make the mistake of cutting some of these top of funnel campaigns and they go, oh, well, it's not really performing. Then they start seeing their paid ads perform even worse. And they're like, well, what the fuck's going on? I've just gotten rid of YouTube because it wasn't performing that well. And now I cut it and now my overall rise and revenue has dropped. It's because you weren't looking at YouTube's attribution at the top. Thirdly, cross-channel dependencies as well. This is a fucking big one. Your Google branded search performance often depends entirely on your prospecting performance. Prospecting can happen through Google's demand gen, YouTube Discover, obviously can happen through Meta, TikTok, and other passive advertising channels. When prospecting drops, fewer people learn about your brand, you're going to have more repeat customer rate, and you're going to rely on just existing customers, and you're not going to get new people into the brand, so you're just going to box yourself in, and fewer people then Google your brand name later. Your branded search just tanks. Third-party tools reveal this connection. Now, I'm just going to show you TripleWhale, as you can see on the screen, and how this is visualized. So you go to the marketing acquisition, then click into attribution all. We'll scroll down and you can obviously see the channel overlap. And then what you can do is see every single order that's been tracked. as you can see here, into this one. You'll be able to see the customer journey. So bang, we click it. This is obviously just an example, but to illustrate how these different channels can interact, you can see early on a lot of the touch points are like top of funnel platforms like Meta and stuff. And then eventually you have the bottom of funnel ones like Google and email, creating those conversions. This is how you sort of discover that your channels actually work together and to not kill something that is actually doing work at the top. They don't compete, guys. At the end of the day, they compound. Let's just say your Google branded search drops by 20%. You're freaking out trying to figure out what the fuck broke. And then you check your third-party tool and you find Meta prospecting spend decreased last month. Guys, they're connected. Google doesn't tell you this. TripleWhale and other attribution tools, they can. I do want to mention this briefly before we obviously move into the next point. If your Google ads are set up correctly, you should have non-branded campaigns where branded traffic is actually properly filtered out. Non-branded campaigns are more independent from your other channels. They're designed to drive new customers to your store through Google, which is why they often show a more consistent ROAS between platforms than branded campaigns do. I've made a bunch of videos on this, so definitely check out those videos on the channel. Now that you understand why that gap exists, let's look at what these tools are actually doing under the hood, because TripleWhale and Northbeam, they have different philosophies, which explains why they disagree with Google and with each other. Because TripleWhale pulls data from Google, Facebook, TikTok, Pinterest, Shopify, and your email marketing into one dashboard. It tracks customers using UTM tags, combining precise tracking like cookies and emails with estimated tracking, device signals, because it integrates directly with Shopify and it just gives you a more precise view of customer acquisition costs than any single channel alone. This isn't an affiliate video, it's just genuinely giving you guys the source behind these third-party tools. This is the part where we are going to actually look into different attribution models, because there is so many, which we can do by choosing one of the options. From here, the first one we're going to look at is triple attribution. Here we can see the TripleWhale. Obviously the number here, rows for this type of attribution, the ROAS. And if we remember these numbers, we can go into another attribution model. Let's go first click. We can see that the numbers are smaller now. Now it's 2.5. You can see a similar thing with last click, 2.4, 2.48. Let's just go, total impact as well. ROAS 1.09. So as you guys saw, they offer different attribution models. The model you choose changes your numbers significantly. We have multiple clients leveraging TripleWhale, and at the end of the day, they use what is best for their business and what they focus on. Maybe they've found that purely focusing on last click works for them, or first click, or total impact. But you need to really make sure you pick a North Star, meaning like a tool and an attribution model, and then you stick to it and you make all decisions based off that, because you're just going to look at the wrong reporting. People on your team are not going to make decisions in line with that reporting. This gets messy. The model you choose changes your numbers significantly. And just to break down how you can use each of these models, TripleWhale's triple attribution is usually the best for client reporting. It does give 100% credit to the last click from each channel in the customer journey, but just be aware that your numbers can add up to actually more than your actual sales, so you have to be aware of that. $100 purchase touching Facebook, Google, and email reports as $100 Facebook revenue plus $100 Google revenue plus $100 email revenue. That's $300 total for a $100 sale. So it sounds weird, but you don't want to look at the numbers. It just shows each channel's value without forcing them to compete against each other, because we're not looking like, oh, Google brought 100,000 but actually brought 20,000. You're not looking at that. It's just where the traffic's coming from, where the sales are coming from. Also, you see in the bank account and how much it's doing, and obviously your sheets and stuff too. First click credits whoever started the customer journey. I would say use this when you need to just understand which channels are actually bringing in new customers versus just capturing existing demand. So like I said, I know I sort of contradicts what I said earlier, but I want to look at which channels bring in new customers. I'm going to have a quick look at first click. You can leverage different models to get an understanding of what's going on for a certain answer, because that's why they offer all these models. But for like client reporting and also understanding where to put money and stuff, ideally you want one sort of model. And then we have last click, and this credits whoever got the final click before purchase. Simple, but it ignores everything that happened before. And then we have total impact, and it uses surveys and machine learning to sort of redistribute your actual revenue across channels. I personally don't really use this one. Post-purchase surveys aren't precise enough to really base decisions on. Anyways, here's how we use TripleWhale when it comes to the data. We use triple attribution when showing reports to our team. We use first click when you need to see what's actually bringing in new customers. And just some things to note as well, add all your costs, shipping cogs, agency fees, salaries. If you don't add everything, the profit numbers will lie to you and it'll look better than what they are. Also watch new versus returning customer ratios. If most purchases are from new customers, your prospecting is working. Check LTV and retention metrics to sort of set realistic ROAS targets instead of pulling numbers out of just thin air. You can use MER, total revenue divided by total ad spend, as your real North Star metric. It can't lie because it ignores attribution altogether. Now, I just want to briefly mention Northbeam, as some of our clients do use it. Northbeam takes a different approach with their clicks only model. When someone sees your YouTube prospecting ad, then later Googles your brand name and buys, Northbeam says YouTube deserves the credit, not Google. Their logic, Google was just cleaning up the sale that YouTube created. Northbeam removes credit from lower funnel channels like branded search, direct visits, and email SMS when it sees upper funnel touchpoints like prospecting, Facebook ads, non-brand search, or display earlier in the journey. This has advantages and drawbacks as well, but it makes Northbeam useful for evaluating top of funnel campaigns like YouTube prospecting, where Google's own reporting might not show the full picture. But the cons, it can just underreport your lower funnel efforts like your branding campaigns. So that begs the question, which numbers, should you actually trust for decisions? So long story short, you need to match the right tool to the right decision. For daily Google Ads optimization, we use Google Ads own numbers, like dashboard's own numbers. And when you're adjusting bids, pausing keywords, testing ad copy, or managing smart bidding, trust Google Ads. Google's machines learns from Google's conversion data. Target ROAS, target CPA, maximize conversions. These algorithms optimize toward the numbers Google sees. If you set targets based on TripleWhale numbers, you're going to break the feedback loop. And the algorithm is optimizing toward one number while you're judging it on a completely different number. So you want to keep Google Ads decisions inside of Google Ads. For comparing channels and understanding the full customer journey, use those third-party tools. When you need to see how channels work together, which ads start customer journeys versus which ones capture existing demand, that's where TripleWhale and Northbeam come in. Here's an example of why this matters. Because your Performance Max campaign, let's say, shows a 5 ROAS in Google Ads, it looks fucking amazing. TripleWhale shows a 2 ROAS for the same campaign. But obviously, before you panic, you got to check the new customer rate. If only 8% of purchases are from new customers, you're not prospecting. You're just recapturing people who already knew about you, taking credit for demand that already existed. Google's 5x looks great on paper, but then TripleWhale reveals what's really happening. So flip side, if your shopping campaign shows 190 out of 206 purchases from new customers, that's 92% new. You're actually driving growth. That's real prospecting. For retention and LTV decisions, I would say use TripleWhale's retention tab. And if you're running a subscription or repeat purchase business, this really shows you average customer value over the 12 months, which is good to factor in when scaling your brand too. Monthly retention rates as well. And basically it tells you how many orders until you break even. If customers break even on their second order, an average 3 to 4x LTV over 12 months, you can afford bad first order ROAS like 1.5, 2x, because the lifetime math, it just fucking works. So TripleWhale helps you set realistic ROAS targets based on actual customer data and not just guesses. But for your actual North Star metric, I would say use MER. MER stands for Marketing Efficiency Ratio. The formula is simple. Total revenue divided by total ad spend. This does not lie because it ignores attribution completely. You just go, I made this much, we spent this much. This much revenue was created. Then we divide that by this is how much ad spend was spent. Simple. So this cannot lie because it ignores attribution completely and it doesn't care which fucking channel gets the credit. It just answers, are we fucking profitable? Healthy e-commerce brands target 3 to 5 MER. So 300K in Shopify revenue, 80K in total ad spend. MER equals 3.75. You're in fucking good shape. So use MER to know if your overall marketing is just working, and use platform metrics to optimize individual channels within it. For yearly planning and validating if a channel actually works, I would say use incrementality testing or marketing mix modeling. And before you scale a channel, let's say fucking 3x or cut it entirely, you want to run a proper test. So I'll explain this quickly and I'll explain what incrementality testing actually is. So it's simple. Show ads to group A, don't show ads to group B, measure the difference. If group A buys more, the difference equals your ad's real impact. And I actually want to bring your attention to House Analytics. They're a massive data company. They analyzed over 190 YouTube campaigns across 74 brands, and they found YouTube drove 3.4x more actual sales than Google Ads reported. So translation, if Google Ads says YouTube generated 100,000 in sales, the real number was actually probably 340K. Now, I know that section was a lot, so I want to give you a simple cheat sheet that you can reference anytime. Example, flow. So for adjusting keywords, bids, cutting campaigns, or testing new creators in Google and YouTube, use Google's data. Compare Google versus Meta performance, I would say GA4. If you want to understand customer journey, TripleWhale or Northbeam. Validate if a channel actually fucking works, I would do an incrementality test. If you want to see if overall marketing is profitable, MER. And then maybe you want to justify budget increase to a CFO, I'd say incrementality plus MER. And then also if you want to set realistic ROAS targets, I'd do LTV data from TripleWhale. The wrong tool for the wrong decision equals fucking bad choices. So you want to match them correctly, and then you stop second guessing yourself. And obviously, by the way, my team and I did a huge white paper on this. So if you want to grab it, the link's going to be in the description. Okay, I want to close the main section with this because I do see too many brands panic when third-party tools shows lower ROAS. And what I'm going to dive into is why Google Ads is still worth it. These brands, they start questioning whether Google Ads even fucking works, and it does. And I want to show you why. 1.8 billion people stay logged into Gmail constantly. Add YouTube, Chrome, Android, search. Google knows which person is on which device basically all the fucking time. After iOS killed tracking for everyone, Google's logged in user advantage became very valuable. Third-party tools simply cannot match this level of user identification. Incrementality tests does prove Google works better than attribution shows. When proper experiments are conducted comparing sales with and without ad exposure, Google's platforms consistently show a higher impact on sales. I mentioned the YouTube study, 3.4x more actual sales than reported. Guys, this pattern repeats across studies. Platform numbers exist to optimize the platform. Google's smart bidding learns from Google's conversion data. These algorithms need Google's numbers to work properly. So if you set targets based on TripleWhale numbers, you're going to break the feedback loop. The algorithm optimizes toward one target while you judge it on another. Every platform does the same fucking thing. Google takes full credit, Meta takes full fucking credit, TikTok takes full credit. They all report the same sale simultaneously. Third-party tools duplicate, which makes everyone's numbers lower. And this isn't Google being greedy or Meta trying to grab more ad spend from you. Each platform can only see its own impact. If you're running an e-com brand and maybe your Google Ads to shit the bed, or you simply want an audit of your Google Ad account and see if it can be improved, I'm more than happy to audit your ad account free of charge. I'll run through everything: shopping, search, YouTube, Google Merchant Center, feeds. My team, myself, we will break down your current setup and show you where the gaps are, if there is any gaps. If the ad account is already working well and there's no room to improve it, I'm going to let you know. But I'll also give you a roadmap to fix any gaps that there might be, or just show you maybe you can be paying 20% less to get the same revenue, or maybe you can reduce CPCs, or maybe increase the ad account by 30% ad spend in 30 days, whatever. I'm more than happy to audit that ad account. Otherwise, any questions you have, drop them in the comments. I'll read all of them and I'll respond to them as soon as I can. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video and I will catch you in the next one.